If you'd like to read the essay that I read to you in this video, I have it linked in the description below. I also have some further thoughts to kind of expound on these ideas later on in the video, so be sure you stick around for that. Storytelling is mankind's greatest creation. There is a sacred power in nature in the ability to weave together a narrative that inspires, uplifts, and causes one to reflect on their own selves in a manner that transcends all other forms of communication. Storytelling offers the capacity to explore the greatest and most existential questions mankind has ever asked itself. Stories can teach, learn, and discover both vast, incomprehensible ideas and the most personal, tender, and beautiful aspects of an individual's daily struggles. Storytelling allows humanity to communicate what words are incapable of. It gives any two people the opportunity to speak one to another soul to soul, understanding each other at a far more personal level than mere speech and gesture would allow. Storytelling is sacred, yet very few seem to ever ask themselves, what are the moral laws that should dictate storytelling? The study of ethics is the study of moral law and theory. Philosophers who dedicate themselves to this scholarly discipline ask questions and explore difficult scenarios that force themselves to consider more than just right and wrong. What is rightness and where does it come from? How should one live their life in the most morally justified manner? Are there scenarios that ascend beyond the limits of morality? Is it possible to be wholly just? Yet, while very famous historical figures such as Plato, Kant, and Aristotle have asked themselves the morality of human action and intention, far fewer individuals have explored the ethical relationship between morality and storytelling. Yes, while many philosophical theories can relate to the action and intention of storytelling, there are far fewer questions currently being asked about the ethics of authorship. Artistic integrity has been explored and discussed ad nauseum, yet the morality of writing a creative story has been missing in public discussion. Ethics are unfortunately absent in conversations that desperately demand its presence. Why is including ethics in storytelling so foundationally necessary to its survival? Simply put, storytelling has never experienced a period of human history quite like the 21st century. Practically every person alive has the power to share any story they wish to a vast global audience. The connective tissue between humanity has never been so strong and so far-reaching. Audiences can now know their authors personally, yet there is still a clear anonymity to that relationship. Personal stories and fantasies are now available for public scrutiny when before those personal works of imagination were both considered and could only ever be private. There is now no need for a technical understanding of storytelling and writing for that story to be scrutinized and technically analyzed. Many public-facing storytellers have shared messages, thoughts, and ideas that have divided grand swaths of people from different political, religious, cultural, or sexual backgrounds at a rate that has never been witnessed in all of human history. The relationship between artist and audience has been entirely reconstructed from what it was a mere 30 years ago, and both sides are still desperately trying to understand how to navigate such a novel and historic change. In a world with such confusion over the newfound power storytelling has been offhandedly given in the past 20 years, humanity is in desperate need of a stable ethical foundation. Many hundreds of essays have been written and shared discussing this new world art must now navigate. Many thousands of conversations have been recorded and documented analyzing the foundational understanding of storytelling's identity. Yet in between many modern issues ranging from the relationship between author and audience to the content within stories themselves to the growth of artificial intelligence in artistic circles lie very few points of interest that explore the ethics and morality of storytelling. Many of those discussing the aforementioned issues are focused on artistic integrity, which is not the same as ethics. Artistic integrity is simply concerned with the uncompromised vision of an artist, not the morality of the vision itself, nor the ethical questions that arise when that vision interacts with its audience. Because the world has far greater access to any artistic vision that any person could shout into the cyberspace at any time, it stands to reason that now is the time for humanity to grapple with the morality of storytelling. Now is the time to discuss the ethics of authorship. Like the vast list of different philosophers and ethical theories, both ancient and modern, there should not be one singular ethical law that dictates the morality of storytelling. Rather, many conversations need to explore ethical ideas and concepts that widen humanity's understanding of the moral guides that should govern storytellers and audiences. With the boundless number of new storytellers breaking into their artistic dreams, mentors and teachers must be called upon to help guide these novice artists in forming their ethical foundations. These budding storytellers exist in a world where the relationship between author and audience and the understanding of their craft is still being constructed. Ethically, the modern storytelling world has no true foundation. Storytellers and audiences have have little to no understanding of the morals they should expect in the content of their stories, in the artistry of the craft, and in the relationship between artist and audience. It is time to call into question the moral ideas that should guide storytellers in their craft. It is time to explore what an ethical relationship looks like between an author and their audience. It is time to create theories and ideas that have the power to dictate and influence the new global environment that houses every new narrative and creative dream. This call is not asking to stifle the creative limits of humanity, but to allow for a wider discussion that gives power to the stories that can influence its audience for good. The desire for an ethical examination of storytelling does not change the need for narratives that comfort the disturbed and disturb the comforted. Storytelling has entered into a brand new world, and this world is in desperate need of an ethical foundation. So I'm planning on having this kind of being like a consistent theme in these ethics videos, because throughout the time that I write and edit and then record and edit all of this, I have like more thoughts and ideas that kind of come to mind. And especially if I'm in the editing phase, like editing the video itself, I don't really have a lot of time to put that in. And so you'll often see me put it in like extra text on the screen, or just kind of like actually record myself unscripted, kind of like this. But I really want this to be the norm, because I really, really want to have a very genuine conversation about all of these different topics. I really, really want to know more about kind of the ethics of storytelling. I really want to get to kind of like my personal conclusion and get to the bottom of a whole bunch of these different questions. And so I'm going to make this an ongoing series, potentially going on for 10 additional episodes, because I have 10 questions that I'd like to explore listed right here. And I really want to kind of dig into these, and I really need your help with this. I really need you guys in the comments discussing this, because I'm going to read as much as I can from you guys and from other philosophers and other ideas, because I don't think this topic is talked about enough, about the ethics of storytelling, about the ethics of like, what does a relationship look like between an author and their audience? When you're writing a story, who should have more power, the story or the author itself? I really want to get to the bottom of a lot of these questions, because I believe them to be really, really important, especially the question of which stories are ethically wrong. And I really don't want to make this as like kind of this moral high ground. I think that there's a lot of kind of like fear around this whole idea that like people are trying to stifle the stories being told, because they want the stories to have really good like moral themes and everything. And I think a lot of that is unfortunately like really politically motivated, but I think that idea is still fairly important in like which stories do have a strong moral foundation, which stories are just kind of like fun explorative experiments on like different ideas, and which stories actually are morally harmful to those that read them and take in the morals that the story teaches. And I really want to get into all of that. I really want to get into all of these different ideas, and like I said, I'm going to need your help on this. My plan is to post one of these about once every month, and so this whole series should take me around a year to complete. If there are more questions that need to be asked that I need to kind of like really dive into and explore, then let's ask them and let's make more videos. I do really want to get into some other like story analyses that, you know, I just really want to dive into. I do really want to kind of explore different writing skills expressed by different writers and different like things that we can learn from other writers, either success or mistakes. And so I'm still going to be doing that in between all of these videos, but once a month you can expect an ethics analysis from me about the ethics of storytelling and the ethics, and answering all of these questions that I listed off before, because I believe them to be really important and I really want to dive into them. But the format that I currently have, you know, I kind of take a story and then I analyze it and break it down, I don't think is necessarily going to work with this. I think in order to ask these really broad questions, I kind of have to approach it a little differently. And so these videos are going to be a little different than my other just kind of standard analyses like writing videos. I believe these questions to be really important. And I think the last thing that I really, really hope that I can kind of communicate across, I don't want myself to be the end all be all on these questions. I really don't want to be the only one talking about this. The whole point of the essay that I wrote is a call to action. I really want people to discuss this. I really want them to dive into this, because I find this to be really important. And if I'm the only one talking about this, it's going to be really boring. I really want people to kind of take an Uncle Iroh approach, where we're going to take wisdom and ideas from many different sources, because if it comes from just one, it's going to be really rigid and stale and boring. The whole reason why we have this global interconnected web of humanity is so that things can be interesting and ideas can be complex and really meaningful to many different people, and that people can bring in their backgrounds and beliefs and individual ideas and identity into this hopefully really big discussion. I want this to be a big thing. I really want people to really dive into this. That's kind of the generalities of this whole project, and I really hope that you'll join me on this. Please subscribe so that you don't miss this, because I really want to dive into this. I really believe that this is important, and I really want to answer these questions, and I need your help with this. Please discuss in the comments below the ideas that I discussed in the essay and kind of in the aftermath. Disagree with me as much as you want. I really want this to be kind of a bigger and broader discussion, and I don't know, I might make posts about this later on. I'm not sure. I really want to talk about this because I think that this is an aspect of storytelling that hasn't really been expanded upon enough. That we are at a world where storytelling has really shifted and changed on how people are making stories, how many people are experiencing the stories being made, and the relationship between artist and audience, and the grand scale that storytelling sees. And a lot of stories are no longer private, and I feel like that has kind of been like a huge thing, and that, you know, people can kind of go into storytelling without ever learning kind of the really important things about storytelling, the important techniques that make storytelling what it is and gives it the power that it can have. That I just find this to be really important, and I really want to talk about this with you, and I really want you to talk about this with me and I really want you to share this with other people and really discuss this with as many people as can be, because I think that it's a discussion that needs to be had. So that's kind of the whole generalities of this topic. Please subscribe so that you don't miss a video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below.